Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for some more Legacy action. Here I am with a deck that I am pretty much well known for playing in the UK. I'm sort of known as the Twin guy a lot of the time because I'm the only one who's foolish enough to keep sleeving this up and playing it. But I've been playing it for a long time, ever since Deathrite Shaman was banned in... Actually no, before that even. Ever since Dig Through Time was banned in Legacy, I've been playing Splinter Twin. Never played it in Modern though. The appeal of a deck like this is that you get to play pretty much just draw go, apart from like cantrips and things. And you can sort of win out of nowhere. So you get a lot of free game ones where people just think you're a blue-red or a Jeskai control deck sort of thing. And then you just sort of end of turn, flash in your guy, put Splinter Twin on it, make infinite guys and win. Now, this list is a bit different to the ones I used to play. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to play Paper Magic for a while. So I've only played this probably once in the last year. And that was before we had Maddening Hex as well. So this is a bit different than it used to be because Expressive Iteration is a card that gives you a lot more dig into your deck. So this deck used to play Jace Vryn's Prodigy quite a while back as a way of filtering through things, and also the minus on the flip side of that Jace let you cast Force of Will at alternative cost, which is quite nice. But now we just sort of have a more standard suite. So we have all our cantrips, we have a Spell Pierce just as a little bit of extra interaction. We have 5 standard point and click removal spells. We have Snapcaster Mages because we're trying to leverage these for our card advantage. So this is basically our card advantage slot is 2 drops. We have a single back to basics, which is quite effective with things like Deceiver Rexarch and Pestamite because you can tap down their lands and make sure they stay tapped. It's also blue, so it pitches to Force of Will and Misdirection, which is why there's one in the main. Splinter Twin is essential for our combo. Force of Will, pretty standard for blue decks. The Misdirection is essentially a 5th Force of Will for things like counter spells. So if you're trying to go off on your turn and they're going to throw a Force of Will or something at you, Misdirection can change the target of that Force of Will to the Misdirection. So effectively it's a Force of Will for counter spells, which is the reason it's there. Sometimes it also comes in handy for uncounterable things like Abrupt Decay. You can redirect the Abrupt Decay to one of their creatures, for example. And then we have an Engineered Explosives as a singleton, which is just a nice catch-all in case there's anything a bit weird out there. There is definitely an option of playing an additional colour to make this crack for 3, but it seems so rare that that's going to be important. That I think it's better just to have a solid mana base. Now I'd like to talk about the mana base. The worst cards in this mana base are the 2 Volcanic Islands. They're kind of a necessity because sometimes you will need both colours, but for the most part you want to just be fetching basics. That's why we're a Prismatic Vista deck. We want to be able to have a mana base that can't be wastelanded because we're trying to cast a 3-drop into a 4-drop, so we can't afford to be set back. Yes, you can play things like Ancient Tomb, but that just exposes you to wasteland more. And I think I'd rather just play a slightly slower but more secure game. And also we have the Back to Basics, which we have another one in the board for matchups where we require it. I think that's mostly it for talking about the main deck. We'll see more as we get into the games. As for the sideboard, we have our Graveyard Hate, which is pretty much standard. I like the Surgical Extractions better because of Snapcaster Mage. It means you get more chances at it. The only downside with this over something that's like a permanent base thing is this can be discarded out of your hand. Then we have these cards, which are for dealing with certain problem matchups. So Back to Basics can deal with a lot of the decks that are trying to do unfair things like Green-White Depths or the 8 Mulch deck, stuff like that. Anything that's going to be trying to leverage a lot of, or the Uro Pile decks. So it's just an additional one of these that we can bring in. The Meltdown's pretty obvious for any sort of artifact-based decks, whether it's Painter or 8-cast, etc. Maddening Hex is a new addition that I've not actually had a chance to play with yet, but it looks pretty good on paper. So one of the worst matchups for this deck is the Jeskai control decks, because Teferi is a real problem for what you're trying to achieve, because you can't flash in your creature, and then their counterspells always trump yours. So the Maddening Hex is a nod to that, so I can try and add some more cards in to deal with the Jeskai control decks. Also, they're fine against Storm as well, so I've taken out a Flush to Storm that was in my sideboard previously, and I've added in these Maddening Hexes. Pyroblast is pretty standard these days. Pyroclasm just because I want an additional way of sweeping the board when there's a lot of Elf and Goblin decks running around due to the new cards. And the Spellskite, the good thing about Spellskite is it can hit abilities, so it can hit Boseiju as well. So you can redirect a Boseiju that they're hoping is going to hit your twin, for example. This is also really good against some decks that are only going to interact with you on a removal basis. So decks without counterspell. So things like Goblins and Death and Taxes, they're going to be trying to remove your creatures. So what you can do is you put this down, and this also roadblocks those decks, because the decks that tend to not have counterspells tend to be more creature focused. So this can save you a load of life against Goblins whilst also stopping their cycled Goblin that's going to try and kill your guy in response. Oh, one other thing I'd like to talk about quickly is the split I have of Deceiver Exarch and Pestamite. Pestamite has 1 toughness, Deceiver Exarch has 4, Lightning Bolt is very common. That's about it. Okay, so we're going to jump into a league and play this and hopefully have a good one. Right. Okay, so we're into the first round, and this is our opening hand. As you can see, I don't have any blue mana in my predominantly blue deck, so we have to mulligan. Okay, we still have no lands, so we have to mulligan again. Okay, we can keep this. So we have the ability to pull ourselves out using these expressive iterations. I don't think we need all of the mana sources available to us here. So put back one of these lands. And I think we probably put back the other land, because we're going to expressive iteration, which we generally want to hit lands anyway. Our opponent is on the play. Preordain, which tends to suggest more towards the combo side than a controlling matchup. So this could be anything from High Tide to could be a Doomsday style list. It's uncertain as of yet, but I'm expecting more combos. So the idea now is we want to try and find a cantrip and draw it into some kind of counterspell. We haven't done that, but we're playing our island out so we can represent we're a blue deck, so they at least have to think about Force of Will. Okay, so they played a snow-covered forest as well, which is making me think possibly some sort of the blue-green Thought-Lash deck, perhaps, or the some sort of Uro pile of some description, but that probably has a combo in it because it's running Preordain, so it wants to find specific things. So we found the Force of Will we were looking for, so we can play our mountain. Once they pass the turn, we can play out the mountain, and we can hold up Force of Will. We have multiple options of things to discard from it. So at the moment, I'd be more inclined to pitch the Snapcaster Mage, because the Snapcaster Mage doesn't give away too much of what we're doing. It doesn't give away the combo, and these are just better to draw us out of our mulligan. I'm assuming it's going to be a Kotal? Yeah, sure. Flying Snake. A Carpet of Flowers in the main deck, which is quite unusual. At this moment in time, the main thing that I'm looking for is things that get in the way of my combo, or things that can end my game. So either their combo or win condition versus my protection. At this moment in time, we're okay. We're going to be able to draw some more cards this turn. We have a combo in hand. So let's cast this. So we're going to put the Deceiver Exarch in hand, I think. We're going to put this on the bottom of my library, and we're going to exile this one. going to play out the Prismatic Vista, and then we're just going to hold back. So the other option was getting an additional, taking the additional land there, but I'm working on the principle that the express iteration is going to find us another land, and at the moment we don't really care about the clock our opponent is presenting us. So we just want to be able to overwhelm them with cards. This isn't a combo deck that aims to go really fast necessarily. It has the ability to win on turn 4, which isn't particularly fast for Legacy, but it's more about sort of controlling the board and picking your spot, much more so than a lot of other combo decks. Getting beaten down from very minuscule amounts isn't a problem. We don't want to crack this in case we draw a Brainstorm, and also we don't want to give them an additional island for Carpet of Flowers. And we don't know what sort of basic we're going to need to cast our twin. Okay. So I think we will cast this. So we could try and combo this turn if we wanted, but I don't think we're under any pressure to do so. So I'm going to try and make sure my hand is as shored up as possible. Okay, so this is good. So we get a Force of Will into hand. We put the Deceiver Exarch on the bottom of the library, and then we exile this. And we can play this, and so we know what land this is getting. And this also gives us the option of drawing the Spell Pierce, so we have double protection when we go off. Again, our opponent isn't doing a huge amount of things, so we'll be alright for a little while. They might just be trying to fill up their graveyard enough to cast an Uro. We would like another blue spell. Cunning Wish. So this is probably the blue-green show and tell deck. Sure, I think we let them Cunning Wish here. So if they show and tell, put in an Emrakul, for example. Shared Summons, which one is that? That's the one that gets them 2 creatures. Okay, yeah, so they're probably a show and tell deck here. I see. So we have the ability to interact with what they're doing. We can cast 2 Force of Wills. Should hopefully be enough. My problem is if they cast Omniscience off of the show and tell, because there's definitely an option of me letting them let me show and tell my Deceiver Exarch in. Are they going to play this turn, or are they going to wait another turn? They're going to continue sculpting their hand, I think. Okay, so we have an island here, so we play the island out. So we can represent hardcast Force of Will to them. I think for the most part we're probably just going to be Force of Will Snapcaster and then see how things lie after that. So I played the extra land out just in case I need to cast some more spells on my turn. Like giving them 1 more mana when they already have so much mana I don't think is too much of an issue. It's the cards in their hand and what those cards represent is the problem for me. Are they going to try it this turn? Okay, so at their end of turn, I'd like to make blue mana, and red mana. I'd like to cast this. We're going to tap down their mana so they have a little bit less to interact with on my turn. They still have hard cast Force of Will though. So we'll see what we draw here. So we have options here. So we can go with 2 Force of Wills, which seems like enough protection, I would think. Because they're not removal, so they're just on counter spells. So I think we will get this. We can play around double days as well, so we've got a lot of ability to play around things here. So they're going to Force of Will. What do they exile? The Ponder. So I will cast Force of Will, targeting their Force of Will, and I will pitch a Snapcaster Mage. A Veil of Summer. I will Force of Will, targeting their Veil of Summer, and I will pitch this Deceiver Exarch. Do they have additional counter spells? They've only got 2 cards left in hand, and one of them is Shared Summons, so they don't have another Force of Will. Okay, so I'm not actually very used to the operations on this, so tap, untap target opponent you control and save targets. Okay, combat. Okay, so that's the first game, sure. Against sideboarding. So, I'm guessing they're some sort of show and tell omniscience deck. So, they seem to have quite a lot of basics. They're a snowland, so I don't think the back to basics is going to do us anything. So, put it over here in the getting rid of pile. These Pyroblasts seem very good. We would like these Pyroblasts. Maddening Hex seems useful as well as an option to mess with various. Just basically just give them another threat they have to think about. So the Engine Explosives doesn't seem great. Because I'm expecting them to be a show and tell deck, I don't actually think I'm going to be in the market for a lot of removal here. So I think we're going to be trimming on the removal a little bit. So we have a couple of lightning bolts in case we need something in a pinch. The Surgical Extraction is also an option, just so you can take out the one thing that's going to stop your own counterspell, which is an option normally you don't really want to be doing, but I guess because the turn I'm going off, I'm probably not going to have the things in the grave. I don't think that's worth doing. So normally I like to, in like controlling matchups, I tend to board out Force of Wills and just play 1-for-1s, and then just draw up with these. But because they have a combo in their deck, I need to be able to interact with it. So I think we're going to submit like this. So this is the opening hand I've been presented with. It doesn't really do an awful lot here. I have a little bit of interaction, but I've got 4 lands. It's a case of whether or not I think Spell Pierce Snapcaster Mage is good. I need some sort of dig effect, so I think we have to mulligan this one. So this one has mana sources. It has an expressive iteration, has half a combo, it has protection. I like this hand. Out of the options here, I think it's either the Splinter Twin or the Snapcaster Mage that goes. Considering we might need the Force of Will, I think we're going to bottom the Splinter Twin and just try and dig into it later. Ponder is a very reasonable start. I didn't see any sort of wasteland type action, so I don't feel so bad about the Volcanic Island right now. Also, their combo deck is probably quicker because they're just trying to cast a 3 mana spell, whereas I need to cast a 3 then a 4 mana spell. So I'm going to be playing the control role for the most part of this game, unless I find a nice spot. They shuffle their library with the Ponder, which is good for us. Didn't have what they were looking for. So we have the option of playing out. I think I'm going to play the Volcanic Island purely so I have the most amount of fetches for future brainstorms and ponders. And I haven't seen any wastelands. So that's what the plan is going to be. We're going to play out this. I didn't see anything that made me believe that they'd be attacking my mana base, which would be quite a bold thing for a combo deck to do. thing I need to be careful with is my time, because my combo takes some time to execute. Okay, so we've drawn a Pyroblast, which is exactly the sort of thing we wanted. It's going to play out Flooded Strand, and we can brainstorm in their turn when we have a better idea of what things we need. Okay, so we have the Maddening Hex here, which is interesting. We definitely don't want the Lightning Bolt. But we're okay drawing into the mana sources here. I think the question is whether or not I want to Maddening Hex this turn or I want to wait a turn. I think we want to wait a turn. So we're going to draw the island. So we want to be able to Maddening Hex with Pyroblast backup, I think. So we're going to Maddening Hex next turn. Not so much the Pyroblast to defend it, but the Pyroblast to attack what they're doing. Which means we probably need to play out the Scalding Tarn here. So both of these need to get red sources. So this needs to get a volcanic, and this can get a mountain or an island. But I need to make sure I crack before I draw the card on top of my library, because I don't want the lightning bolt. Obviously, something could change on their side of the board that makes me want a lightning bolt, but it seems very unlikely. So we have 2 counter spells for show and tell here. So this is the show and tell. So the choices we have here. So I think we're going to start off by cracking our Flooded Strand in case there's some sort of days we need to play around. So the Pyroblast can hit the show and tell, but can't hit the counterattack spell if it's blue. Yeah, so the Pyroblast can hit the show and tell, but can't hit the Force of Vigor. Okay, so we have a Force of Will here. So I think we need to cast Force of Will targeting show and tell, and I think we pitched the Snapcaster Mage. Do they have their own Pyroblast, or they got the Veil of Summer? I don't think I've seen any red from them, so I'm assuming it's going to be a Veil of Summer here. Sure. Fortunately, this means for me that they're going to put something scary in. If it's an Emrakul, I can draw a tapper. Yeah, okay, so I can draw a tapper and tap this down. Okay, I was just not particularly familiar with how that interface worked. Okay, so if we draw a Deceiver Exarch, we can tap down the Emrakul, and it won't attack us because it has protection from coloured. Okay, so we add blue and we brainstorm into. None of these do it, unfortunately, which is a bit of a problem for us. We're going to be losing all our permanents and probably the game soon. Right, so we crack this. I don't think there's anything that we can do here unless they randomly decide they want to cast a lot of spells. May as well let our opponent try and make a mistake. Red, blue. No, I think we're just done there. Concede the game. Okay, so we're going to game 3. So they had some amount of counter spells there that I couldn't really do anything about. I don't think we have any additional changes we want to make. The Surgical Extraction can be used to see exactly what I'm playing against. I can just sort of use it as a peek, which honestly is probably going to be better than these Lightning Bolts, I think, especially on the play. They also might have Uro if it's going to go longer. I'm not convinced this is good, but I don't think Lightning Bolt is playable in this matchup, really. I don't think it's going to come down to that sort of thing. So I think this is where we want to be. I won the die roll. Oh, no. Well, of course I did. I'm on the play. So what we got here? So we have a turn 1 Ponder into... So we have some of our combo here. So we can Ponder, and then the following turn we can Brainstorm. I think we'll keep this. Volcanic Island, Ponder. Seems right to me. We do not want any of these. So any order, shuffle my library. Okay, next turn we get to cast Brainstorm with a fetch land. They're going to have a shuffle Ponder, they're going to keep. Okay, so they did not shuffle, so they kept with a Ponder. That's bad for us. Means they've almost certainly got some sort of protection. Casting Surgical Extraction targeting my Ponder. I think I will allow them... I will take this free shuffle, which is effectively what they're giving me here. There's a lot of lands here. I guess we put 2 of these lands back. The Vista is worse than a Scalding Tarn. Yeah, they can give me a free shuffle. So they now know that I don't have any counter magic right now. But they do know I have a Brainstorm. So they'll be basically saying at the top, I haven't seen any acceleration that means they can go off this turn, but it's certainly possible they have Ancient Tombs in their deck. I'd be very surprised if they didn't have them, to be honest. Just one of the calculations of thinking that back to basics, that Wastelands wouldn't be in their deck. I don't think back to basics is worth doing, because the Ancient Tomb is only to power out turn 3s. Okay, so they're not going off this turn. They could have an Elvish Spirit Guide, I suppose. Do we want to get deeper in my deck now, or do we want to... Yeah, I think we want to go now because we have an Expressive Iteration, so we can clear one of those cards. I think we'll get just a basic island here. Then we'll get the Volcanic. I've done it in the end of combat rather than the end step. Oops. Okay. So we'll clear these 2. And we can put the island into play next turn. Sure. I'll cast this Expressive Iteration. Are they going in for the counterspell on this one? They're going for a hard cast Daze, perhaps. I haven't seen any Dazes yet, but it's certainly possible it's in their deck. Impulse, okay. I haven't seen an Impulse for a while. Nice to see it back. Okay. We need our Expressive Iteration to find Force of Will, ideally, or some sort of way of dealing with... Because they're probably going to wait until they've got more land, but we need to assemble the correct resources. Alternatively, if they show and tell in and it's only an Emrakul, I at least have 2 turns of tapping it down. So I've got a lot more wiggle room around an Emrakul than I do an Omniscience, which would just kill me stone dead, because I would assume that they'd be able to cast an Emrakul or something scary. Okay, so... We put the Force of Will in my hand, the Manling Hex on the bottom of the library, and we exile this. And then we play this. Okay, so we've managed to assemble a decent number of things. We have a Surgical Extraction, but I think we're going to use it the sort of turn we want to go off, so we can sort of see what our opponent is working with more than anything. They've actually thinned my deck with Ponders. Obviously, Ponder helps you find other things, but so technically, I'm more likely to cold draw a Splinter Twin. Another thing you can do with these cards is untap one of your lands to then cast another spell on the same turn, which is quite useful. So if you need to brainstorm at end of turn and you've got 3 mana. Okay, so here's the show and tell. This is the question here. Do we Force of Will this first? Or do we try and Surgical Extraction? I don't think it makes... I think we just have to cast this regardless. This will help me dig into things. These will keep me alive as an Emrakul, so I think this is the one to pitch here. They must have their own Force of... No. Interesting. I guess they knew I didn't have one earlier, but I've seen 6 more cards since then. Or 5 more cards, I suppose. Interesting. Okay, so we can Snapcast a Brainstorm at end of turn if we need to. This only finds islands. This finds either. I think we'll play this one out. And then we're going to cast Surgical Extraction on Show and Tell. Okay, so they do not have Show and Tells. What do they have here? Omniscience, yep. Dress Down, Force of Will, a single Grizzlebrand, Uro. Okay, yeah, so the Uro is their backup plan. And we can see their hand. Okay, so they have Intuition, so they're going to be on an Uro line, but they're quite a ways off of Uro, I think. Okay, so we are certainly favoured in this game right now. So we're going to Snapcast a Brainstorm end of turn, try and put back this fetch land in favour of a combo piece, ideally. The main battle now is going to be whether or not I clock myself, because I'm not very adept at playing Magic Online yet in terms of the operations. But hopefully they'll scoop once they see my combo assembled, provided that that's something happens. So I'm going to take some damage. Play Uro. Yep, and Uro is going to recover that damage. That's the Uro we knew about. Like, Uro is not really an issue for me. I can tap it down if I'm in danger of it. Intuition. Sure. I'm just going to be putting more Uros in the graveyard, or they're going to be putting counter spells in, so they're worried about my combo. I can also get rid of the Uro here as well, once we see what the Intuition. There's another option. It's a case of how bad the Intuition is. They played out the Snow-Covered Island as well, didn't they? And the Ancient Tomb's gone. So we've got 2 in now. Force of Will, Force of Will, Force of Will. Okay, you can have a Force of Will. This is an interesting choice here. I think we're going to play out a Pestamite to beat down, with the plan of trying to Snapcaster the Surgical. I can end step the Snapcaster Mage here. Or I can hold it for the Brainstorm plan. I think we just hold it for the Brainstorm plan. Okay. We didn't get the opportunity. Guess we go to attacks. If I can Snapcast a Surgical Extraction on their Uro, I don't think they can win the game. If they have a blue card, I would assume this gets the Force of Will. They can see my graveyard, so they know what's in there. Unless they have a Surgical Extraction of their own to hit my Surgical Extraction. Okay, so there's the Force of Will. Sure. I'll play out this Prismatic Vista. Sure, I ponder. Also, if I get their life total lower, it means I have less clicks when I eventually try and combo off. So they're looking for the additional green source to cast the Uro at the moment. So they found the green source. Okay, so we can brainstorm here. This is terrible, so we need to put some cards back. Put these back. So we want to be cracking this. So what we can do on their turn is we can tap down their Tropical Island so that they don't get to cast an Uro for another turn, which is the same as tapping it down, except it gets me one more damage into the race, if it becomes a race. Now the downside of doing that means that that I can't, that if they do have another green source just in their hand, then I can't do anything about it. But I think it's worth doing here. Tap target opponent and opponent controls. So I'm doing this as upkeep, so they can't actually cast an Uro this turn unless they draw an additional green source, which seems to be the source they have the least of in their deck. Now it could be punished, but I think this is basically the same as tapping down the Uro for a turn. It just gives them less cards. Okay. Okay, they're just using this to counter it because I cast a blue spell. Misdirection. It's interesting. We don't want to play this out in case we draw a Brainstorm. We can put some cards back. We can hard cast Misdirection here. Unfortunately, it's not Force of Will. This is the time where it doesn't feel like a Force of Will, which is sad. But again, we can draw a card and just immediately win the game. So now I'll play one of these out. We'll crack one at end of turn. I can afford to take 2 hits from the euro. This isn't really helping my clock too much. Okay, let's now just get basic island. It was a close one. If I'd have surgically extracted in response to the intuition, I think I would have been better off. A lot better off, actually. That's probably a mistake on my part. So looking for Brainstorm, Expressive Iteration, or Splinter Twin. All of these things are good. Yep. Brainstorm, can't do anything about that. Can only redirect counter spells or removal spells. So they've now got a full grip of cards. So there's only one more Force of Will in their entire deck. So I don't think I have to play around it too much. I could just keep drawing lands, I suppose. So I can cast Hardcast, Misdirection, and Twin soon. That's how many lands we've been drawing. You just take 6. It's not 8, so that's fine. Another land. I suppose we play this. And then we go to move attacks. I don't think we can actually... Actually, no, we can't attack here. That's fine. If they try and bounce us, then I can misdirect it. So we're going to chump block and buy ourselves a turn. We're kind of hoping they try and like brazen borrow with this or something, so I can redirect it. Or even if they brazen borrow, I can just recast it and tap that guy. If I draw Splinter Twin, I have it through misdirection protection. And they have 1 Force of Will in their deck, so I don't feel bad about that. Under the bus he goes. Now will be a great turn to draw an action spell. Many of these turns would have been great turns to draw an action spell. The Force of Will. A little too late. I guess we have to chump block with the Pestamite now. Again, they might have some sort of bounce spell. I did see their deck when I surgical. I don't recall seeing a Brazen Borrower in there. But I was not taking the longest looks because of the time on the clock. I didn't really have a lot of time to examine everything super in depth. Yeah, if I'd have surgical extraction in response to the intuition, I think I would have won this game. That was a bit of a misplay for me, and I'm sorry everyone for that. Okay, so we're not dead. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We didn't see any dazes, so we can just keep on trucking. And then at the beginning of combat, we flash this in, and then we untap and we draw a Splinter Twin, and we win the game. That's how we drew it up. Veil of Summer. I don't think I can allow that to resolve. I can't crack both my fetches, so we have to cast this pitching this. You got another Veil of Summer. Sure, so my Deceiver Exarch has to block this turn. So we're still drawing into one of these effects into a Splinter Twin. A Cunning Wish, sure. Is this some sort of bounce spell? I would assume if they're Cunning Wishing from their sideboard right now, it means they've won the game. Submerge, sure. I will concede the game. Oh, definitely annoyed that that Surgical Extraction didn't go off before I did that. Oh well, let's go on to the next round. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so we're into the next round, and this is my hand on the play. So I have a Brainstorm and a Fetch to fix things. I have a Back to Basics if I need it. I don't have any protection against a combo, but I do get to see another 3 cards. So I think we'll keep this. We also can hide from discard if that's the thing we need. A Gemstone Mine. Okay, so nothing fair has ever happened because of a Gemstone Mine. So we'll play this. So this makes me think Dredge most likely. Interesting, didn't do anything on turn 1 though. It could be some other combo deck I'm unfamiliar with. A Lotus Petal, okay. And an Urborg. Oh, this is the Rainbow Depths deck. Okay, I know what this is now. So the Back to Basics is going to be good here. I guess we don't need all of these lands. We can put one of them back, and then we'll put the Expressive Iteration, which would draw for my turn, and then we'll fetch. We want to Deceiver Exarch into Back to Basics, is what our plan is this turn. So I'm just going to play out the basic island, and this will get a basic mountain. I think I don't have to worry about anything affecting our mana base here, so we can get the Volk if required. These are also very good at tapping down 2020s for turns. So there's our Dark Depths. So it feels like they're going to come out main phase. Okay, so they haven't done anything here. That's fine. So we're going to pay 1 life and sack this. And I think we're going to get the mountain, so we're not done under our own Back to Basics. And then I think this one beats for slightly more damage. So we're going to play this one. So this turn, cast Scalding Tarn, cast Back to Basics. So they can crop rotation and kill me this turn, potentially. So I'm not going to attack. This guy can block a 2020, so They got the crop rotation? Yes, okay. So next turn we can Deceiver Exarch, tap that guy down. So basically don't have any mana to work with really. They could still crop rotation for Sejiri Step. Certainly an option they have. Yep, okay, they just had the Sejiri Step in hand. Nothing I can really do about that one. Let's concede this one. It's a little bit disappointing, to be honest. So the back to basics is going to be good here. The lightning bolts don't really affect the 2020, so that's not really something we can do. The Maddening Hex might be better than some of those. The Meltdowns can hit Lotus Petals and Pithing Needles, which is something they're definitely going to have. The Surgical Extraction is okay if I can hit the first time they try and combo. But considering how bad these cards are, I might have a lot of slots to play with. So Spellskite can't redirect Sejiri Step because it's a target creature you control. So I can target it many times with the Spellskite, but it won't do anything. And this will probably do. The Misdirection can hit Abrupt Decays, which is something that they can bring in. So maybe I should be boarding in some Spellskites instead of Surgical Extractions. I'm a big lover of the explosives here. I don't think we need all of these. I don't think the Maddening Hex is where I want to be, is it? Let's be honest. Let's just have another Spellskite. Okay, so this hand doesn't do anything, so we have to mulligan. Island Ponder Keep, right? I've got Force of Will as well. The Surgical Extraction here doesn't feel very good because I can't get a card into their graveyard, so I have to get through the combo one time before I can use this. I don't think Surgical Extraction is very good in this matchup, unless you've got Wastelands, but I don't have Wastelands. The only reason I've got it in there is because of how bad all the other cards are. So we're getting Island off the Prismatic Vista and Ponder. This is the best fetch land because it gets the dual and both of the basics. So we say that for when we need to get something specific. We don't know what that specificity is yet. I don't really think we need another Force of Will, and we certainly don't want these other cards, so we're going to go any order and we'll shuffle. Okay, so what we're trying to do is survive and play lands. So 21 land deck with a load of cantrips, so making land drops should be relatively straightforward. I think we just have to let the Force of Will hit us. It'll probably the Thoughtseize hit us. Will probably take the Pestamite or the Splinter Twin. The Splinter Twin is only 4 in the deck, so it's the better one to take if you're trying to hit the combo. But the Pestamite can interact adversely with other things they're doing, especially under back to basics. Okay, they took the Force of Will, which means they're probably on a crop rotation line rather than a naturally drawn Thespian stage line. I imagine this matchup is probably not great. I've not played against the Turbo Depths before. Played against the lands a lot because that was what was in favour back in the day. So we'll sacrifice this. I think we get a mountain here so we can cast Expressive Iteration if we draw it. Cast our Spellskite. I think we're in trouble here. Wish I hadn't punted the first round, but there we go. Hexmage. Okay, so Hexmage doesn't work through Spellskite. That's good. So as long as Spellskite's on the board, they can't use it to remove the counters from their Dark Depths. We might just be able to turn for them. We don't want to crack this end of turn. We want to keep it in case we draw Brainstorms. Also, it means we're slightly more likely to draw land by like 0 point something %. Thoughtseize. I don't think it's worth. I think they're just going to take the Splinter Twin here. They could take a Force of Will. I suspect it's the Thoughtseize, the Splinter Twin, because there's only 4 of them in the deck. So we could crack if they don't take one of our combat pieces. Yeah. So I was thinking I could always play that out, but I don't think it's worth trying to. Okay. So we've got crop rotation here. Sure. I have a spell scan. I don't think they were aware of that interaction. Gotta love a spell scout. Okay, so we brainstorm now because we can still make land drops. We definitely don't want this. The land would be nice. We'll put that. Put the land on top. I don't think this Force of Will is actually going anywhere at this point, but it's nice to have. I think we put them on top this order, and then we probably draw the land next turn, and then we worry about what Snapcaster Mage is doing. So play this out. I don't think we need to brainstorm now because we already made our land drop. So I think we just pass the turn. Mana Confluence. So we want to be able to Force of Will if the opportunity arises. Let's crack this for basic island. Blue, red. Cast Snapcaster Mage. This gives me a very slow clock as well. A very slow clock. The spell scout's going to insulate me from any abrupt decays they have as well if I can. There's also the option of playing Splinter Twin on Snapcaster Mage. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've gone for a crop rotation whilst my shields are down. It's a very good play. Now I can make a 20/20. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think they've outplayed me somewhat there. I would like this brainstorm, please. Misdirection isn't the one. So I don't think the Force of Will is doing anything here, is it? And the misdirection can both go back. Then we'll crack this for a mountain. Okay, so we have options here. We can draw into one of our guys. We're not going to draw into one of our guys. We're just going to lose the game. Sure. I think I was outplayed there. I don't mind saying it. Don't have a lot of reps in versus this version of it, but again, I should still see the same things and think of what I need to play against. It's just not very tight play for me at the end of the day. And yeah, so I lose that one. All right, next round. So this opening hand has Brainstorm, it has lands, it has various disruption. I like this hand. I'm going to keep it. Since I'm almost certainly getting an island anyway, if I play out this Scalding Tarn, they're going to possibly think I'm Delver more than they're going to think if I play a Prismatic Visage. So I'm going to play the Tarn out first. purely on the basis that it can impact how that they play their turn if they think they're against a Delver with a slow hand. As opposed to this, which I think is Jeskai. I think my deck plays more similarly to Jeskai than it does to Delver, so making them think it's the other thing is better. But I don't have to crack this anyway. It's only there for the Spell Pierce. Okay, Cavern of Souls. Sliver. Okay, so we know what we're playing against. A creature deck. So now we get to actually board in the Pyroclasm and do some creature removals. Ether Vial. I will crack this for an island. Spell Pierce, the Ether Vial. That represents a lot of mana for them. Now the Brainstorm is AOK. So I have a spare one to pitch to a Force of Will if needs be. Obviously, I'm not sure how many things from their deck I'm going to be able to counter. So we can Brainstorm into Lightning Bolts. So my removal suite of 6 cards will actually be useful in this matchup. Another Cavern of Souls, maybe Sliver. Sure. I'll definitely not be able to counter any creature spells this game. Red and white. Sure. That one has haste. Do I care enough about this one to go searching? I don't think so. I guess I'm going to be brainstorming anyway, so I may as well just in case it changes how I feel. Definitely don't need all of these brainstorms. So put one of the brainstorms back. The Snapcaster Mage is going to be great if I can pair it with some removal. The Force of Will is objectively bad at the moment. So put these 2 back. We'll crack this. I think we'll get a Mountain in case I draw an Expressive Iteration. And then we'll take my 1 damage. Okay, so we draw another Snapcaster Mage, which isn't really where we want to be. So we have 2 choices. We can play the Prismatic Vista and play something like this, or we can play the Brainstorm with a fetch land up. I think we'll probably be brainstorming this turn, or in their turn. We just want to find something to pair with these Snapcaster Mages. But if they play and it's some sort of instant I need to counter, then I have the ability to flash these back now. It's got Striking Sliver, sure. Just 1 once. So I can just play my guy and kill this potentially. Okay, so now they have the Muscle Sliver. So now we brainstorm. If we find a Lightning Bolt or an Unholy Heat, we're all good. Okay, sure. So we don't need this and we don't need this. Is the island better than the Scalding Tarn? I think it saves us 1 point of damage, so that might actually become relevant. So this can get us a mountain, and we have the island, so put this back. Sure. We'll crack this. This gets us a mountain. Cast targeting this. No additional damage for your men, please. So now I'm only taking 2, which is fine, and then I have a Snapcaster Mage Lightning Bolt for the next time that they play a Pump Sliver. So this matchup feels relatively in hand at the moment. I'm sure I can find some way of punting it. We can play this out for Brainstorms potentially. Yes. Is that fine? Yeah, so we can Snapcaster Brainstorm as well, which is something we're going to be wanting to do at some point. We have the Snapcaster Lightning Bolt, which is what we're probably doing this turn, but again, depends if they don't field anything that actually requires an answer this turn, because they've only got 2 cards in hand anyway. And you have to imagine they have more Muscle Sliver type effects. Okay, so a Wasteland, which I'm happily playing around, because my deck naturally does that. Predatory Sliver, sure. So this is going to get a Snapcaster Lightning Bolt. red, blue, Snapcaster Mage, lightning bolt. Red, cast lightning bolt, targeting predatory sliver. This has first strike, so there's no point me throwing my Snapcaster Mage under the bus for it. What I can do is block it with a Deceiver Exarch though. So we have the Pestamite. So we have choices here whether or not we want to Snapcaster Mage, Brainstorm, or we can Deceiver Exarch and then try and draw into the win next turn. These things happen at instant speed, so I may as well pass the turn. Because they have haste slivers, I don't really want to attack in case they play a haste sliver that requires blocking and I don't have enough creatures to block with. So this can basically save me some amount of life if needs be. Venom Sliver, creatures you control have Death Touch and First Strike. Sure. Again, they're all 1/1s, so this is not important to me. So this is going to be a Snapcaster thing. So if I play the Snapcaster out now, so I'm going to have to crack this for blue first for the Brainstorm. Yeah, so if I double block with Snapcaster, I can kill one of these and trade one Snapcaster for one creature. So we're going to crack this, get a blue source. So the island probably would have been better to play last turn, thinking ahead. Let's play Snapcaster. Target Brainstorm. So we have a lightning bolt, which is good. We have this expressive iteration, so we don't need this turn. We would like to find off the expressive iteration. It doesn't really matter what the other card is. Sure. So if we go to blocks, we can, if we double block the first, they all have flying, don't they? So I can't actually block here unless I want to bolt something. I think we just take this damage and then we race back with 4. We're taking quite a bit of damage here though, but we kind of want to save that for the other one. Okay, so if we add this and this and cast this, so we might have to kill this just so we can. Okay, so we want this in our hand, this on the bottom of my this on the bottom of my library, and we can exile this one, and then we play this one. So this turn we can cast Deceiver Exarch, untap a mountain, lightning bolt one of their creatures, the one with flying. And then we can block with the Snapcaster Mage, untap, and Splinter Twin for the win. That is the plan here. It's a good plan. They have 2 cards in hand. They don't really have the ability to interact with me with the cards they have in play. A Mutavault. So this will have haste because of this sliver. So I think what we will do here is cast this. And then we'll untap the mountain, lightning bolt the guy that gives us haste so it can't attack us. Untap target permanent you control. This one, please. So the Mutavault can't attack, and these 2 are 1/1s. So if we double block here, we lose 1. We trade 1 guy for 1 guy and take 1 damage. And then we get the first strike off the board. Sure. Okay, they knew the combo was coming, or they were just considering themselves dead because I had the board so under wraps. Sideboarding. I didn't see the blue slivers, so I don't think this is going to be a Pyroblast matchup. We do have the Pyroclasm on the other hand. The Back to Basics stops basically everything in their deck, which is nice. The Misdirection doesn't seem useful here, and I don't really want counter spells particularly much. Maddening Hex doesn't do anything. Meltdown can hit their Ether Vial. There's definitely a chance they do have blue slivers. There's a question of, do I want to hedge with removing Force of Wills for Pyroblasts? Like, I don't know why you wouldn't be playing things like Gale Rider Sliver. I don't understand why you wouldn't be playing them. So I'm going to play these Pyroblast. Like, they have Rainbow Mana, so they surely have to be having them in the deck. If they do, it means I've got a lot of removal spells here. So I'm going to submit like this. So we have a sideboard card, which is nice. We have a removal spell, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands. That's too many. We have to mulligan this. This hand is a little slow. Depending on if this actually has targets will make a big difference to how this game plays out, I think. But I think we will keep this hand. And we will bottom a Snapcaster Mage for now. I think we're better off just digging in here, and we still want to have the ability to combo. I think at the start of the game, these are the better spells. Okay, so it's red, so it's the first strike sliver again. Sure. If you're rainbow slivers, I don't know why you wouldn't have blue slivers. So this can get us a basic mountain. If we need to Pyroblast. We still want to fetch basics because we've got 2 back to basics in the deck now. And we know they're a wasteland deck. Did they miss their attack step? Ether Vial. Do I care about Ether Vial? Can I do anything about Ether Vial is a better question. The answer is no. So they only have the 1 land. Interesting. I'll just play the island out and pass. So if this was a Force of Will instead, I could have countered the Ether Vial. It's important to note. But I think it's better to deal with the threats because that's what this deck's going to kill you with. I'd rather just deal with the threats in the Ether Vial. That could be the wrong approach, but it's the approach I like to take for a lot of creature matchups. There's definitely decks that can do shenanigans with the Ether Vials. But this isn't one too much. Like, it can pump things into speed or give it death touch or whatever, but that's not really relevant because I'm not going to be blocking. Chalice of the Void where X equals 1. That's pretty good. It's making me want to bring in the Meltdowns for the next game instead of these Pyroblasts. Sure, that doesn't impact what I'm doing right now, and it doesn't impact my combo either. So this could just be a race to the combo, potentially. Back to basics. I think I would like to stop my opponent casting spells. That seems good. And then if they play another land trying to play a 2-drop, I can then Pestamite and tap down a land. Okay, so yeah, they are a blue deck. So they have the Force of Will. Sure. So now they've got 1 card in hand. So they've kind of spent all their resources on these things which don't do anything. So like the Ether Vial, if that was a threat, they could have been beating down a bit more. Obviously, it lets them play around back to basics if it comes along, or it can jump them ahead of mana, but I think it's not been ideal for them. Which is one of the problems with sometimes with Ether Vial decks, is if they ignore the Ether Vial and just go for your threats, all you've done is maybe ramp yourself out, but because they didn't have any plays, it hasn't actually accelerated them at all. Obviously, it's a great card, gets you around counter spells and so on and so forth. And they saw counter spells, they saw blue spells in my deck, so they know that I'm Force of Willing. Muscle Sliver, sure. So this increases their clock dramatically. Have they got the haste sliver? That would be very good here. No, okay. So, but again, it's made their clock a 2-turn clock. A 3-turn clock, sorry. It's an ideal. So if I draw a Splinter Twin, then that'll be fine. And I just tap down one of their creatures. I can always just... Okay. This seems fine to me. They have no cards in hand, so I don't even care about the Force of Will. They can have next turn, so what we're going to do is tap down one of their 3/3s. And then we're going to try and kill them on my next turn. I'm trying to think what 3 mana slivers they have. I don't think there's anything that I need to be too worried about. They only have 1 turn to draw it as well. And if it's a creature that adds power or toughness or anything, they're going to want to play it anyway and expose what they're doing. 9. So I could just take the 9 here and try to shut down the vial, but then if it's 4, 8, 12, that's still not enough. And they don't have enough to put some sort of double strike instead. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to tap down the vial just to make sure they have no interaction on their turn instead. Sure, we can take 9. Yeah, okay. So we calculated the damage if they had another muscle sliver, and it doesn't kill us. Sure. Now I just need to make sure I don't tap past their end of turn. I'm going to cast this. It doesn't really matter what I tap here. Might as well. Then we untap and win the game. Go to mountain. Create a token. Tap untap. Save ability. Okay, sure, they conceded. So we want a match. We probably should have won the first round if I hadn't punted. So we're 1-2. We probably should be 2-1. This sort of matchup is fine because you kind of control what's in front of you, but you don't have to do it forever. Now they do have a little bit of disruption, but it was more or less fine. And we bring in a load of answers. I was interested that I didn't see anything other than the Force of Will, but they must have had some blue slivers in there. All right, on to the next round. So what are we looking at? A Yorion here. So we have a Lightning Bolt, but we won't be able to cast under Thalia anyway, which is the main thing we want to hit. So I think we have to mulligan. This is fine. I can cast some spells. So we'll keep this. I think we bottom the Snapcaster Mage is going to be good if it is Death and Taxes. The Force of Will I don't think is going to be as good. I think I'd rather just remove things, so I'm going to remove the Force of Will. I like to board out Force of Wills in these matchups anyway, because they're doing fair things. I'd rather just have 1 for 1. Okay, Scalding Tarn, so it's not going to be a Death and Taxes. It's going to be 4-color Yorion pile, which again I'm not too upset about not having a Force of Will for. Might they play more or less a fair game? Obviously, it could be one of the ones that's got like some sort of combo in it. You get all sorts of weird and wonderful things now from the equipment and creature that gives them infinite interaction, infinite activations of an ability to all sorts of things. I think we play out the Flood Strand in case we have a desperate need to lightning bolt something. We can get a Volcanic Island off of this. But we don't really want to cast a spell this turn. Okay, we're just going to stare at one another. Sure. I'll play out this island. And I'll pass with the idea of casting Expressive Iteration on the following turn. And they're going to think I'm probably some sort of Jeskai control deck at the moment. If I play out the Polluted Delta, then it's a bit more of a question as to what I'm going to be, I think. Because this looks pretty standard Jeskai opening. Stoneforge Mystic. Sure. So we're going to lightning bolt this so it can't kill us with a Cauldron, which I assume is what it's going to get. Oh, it's a Batterskull, which means they probably have the Cauldron in hand. Less good. What's this? Get Volcanic Island. Cast this, targeting this. That's red. I don't think they would fight over that. It'd be an unusual thing to fight over. I'm going to cast Expressive Iteration. this might be something they'll fight over if they have main deck Pyroblast. Okay, I guess we're getting some mana this turn. So Scoring Time is the best fetch. That can go in hand, and then it doesn't matter which order these go. Sure. And then we'll play this, so we can lightning bolt something again if we need to. Last time we lightning bolted around days, that resolved without hitting a daze, so I'm less likely that they have dazes here. Because if you can trade a 1-for-1 on a expressive iteration, that's normally something you'd want to do. Okay, so it's Esper Yorion, so this could be the... yeah, that's fine. This deck has various packages within it that can find... So let's have a look. So they have options for all sorts of things, from like discard to Tide Hollow Sticks, things like Baleful Strix, which is not something that really impacts what I'm trying to do. Palace Jailer, on the other hand, is a real card. But if they cast the Palace Jailer just to get Monarch, I will flash in a Deceiver Exarch, bolt it, and then hopefully be able to steal the Monarch. So that's a new game plan available here. Seem to be drawing a lot of mana sources here. I think we just play this out. Yes, okay, so what we want them to do is attack with the Recruiter of the Guard, play Palace Jailer, and then hopefully my Deceiver Exarch will resolve, and I can tap down their Palace Jailer. Yeah, okay, so they have the Palace Jailer, sure. So they're going to get one additional card off of the Palace Jailer. Which means I probably want to cast my Deceiver Exarch in response to the Monarch trigger at the end of turn. Just so they're slightly less likely to have an answer. So what we're going to do here is... crack this for a basic island. We're going to cast this Deceiver Exarch. Let's see if this gets any action from them. Sure. Tap target permanent and only controls. Tap this one down. And we're going to lightning bolt the... this guy. So there is an option that they have a source of plowshares in hand, or they can draw one off the Monarch. Okay. This looks like what might be happening here. Sure. So there is the source of plowshares. So they're going to get 2 cards out of this Monarch now, which is a lot for me to overcome. I think we Snapcaster Mage into Expressive Iteration here. Let me draw some cards. None of these are great. I think we're just looking for ponders here. Oh, I've cast the wrong one, haven't I? That's very foolish of me. Sorry. Your library. Geez, I don't really want any of these. Okay, so I cast the wrong ponder, so that's a great start to that turn. As I mentioned on quite a few streams daily, I am new to playing Magic Online. I'm used to playing paper, so certainly mix up where my zones are on here a little bit. Nomads and... Okay, yeah, so this is the one that creates an infinitely large creature, an infinitely large toughness by activating it. Okay, so put Yorion in their hand. So they're just going to ride the Monarch out until they can beat me down with Yorion, most likely. Unless they happen to draw into their combo, which is also fine for them. So I'm in a bit of trouble. Obviously, I'm playing a combo deck, so there's always ways in which I can get. So I should have another ponder this turn, but I misplayed horribly. We'll play this out, because we've got a lot of lands to put back with the Brainstorm anyway. There's no point attacking here, which is sad. We just have to let them accrue lots of value via the Monarch. Palace Jailer is quite the card. Again, we still have ways of just winning the game, and they have to have specific answers to beat that. But I think what we're going to get... Okay, we're just getting the Batterskull here. Sure. That's fine. Back to basics. That seems okay here. Let's cast this. We don't want to tap this if we can avoid it. Okay, so that keeps some of their resources tapped down for a little bit. We have to worry about this guy. We can always put a Splinter Twin on a Snapcaster Mage and just keep casting spells, which is a nice thing to do. In this matchup, I think we're probably just going to need to save it for a combo if we draw it. Obviously, we'll see how things go. I can always use it to make infinite chump blockers. We're just going to take 4 this time. Their life total doesn't matter. It's ours that matters in this matchup. Yep, keep drawing your cards. Okay. Let's cast an Expressive Iteration. Okay, so put the Splinter Twin in hand. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to cast a Spell Pierce on any targets this turn, so I think we put that on the bottom of the library, and we exile this, and we play this from exile. Right, we can kill the Batterskull with Lightning Bolt, but I don't think that's really worth doing. I think the aim here is to just try and draw into the combo. The deck has plenty of basics, so I don't think they have any problem with back to basics in game 2 and 3, so we're probably going to be boarding it out. A Misty Rainforest is interesting. I suspect they don't have a green splash. This is probably just as an additional way of fetching Tundras and Underground Seas. And obviously basic islands. So there's a Cephalid Illusionist. So we have to hold our removal spells. Take the damage here. God, I've drawn so many cards. It's getting absolutely buried by the Monarch. So this is an interesting option. We can clear out the Nomads, which stops their combo. So they mill all their cards. So I think we probably have to cast this. X is 1. If they have a counter spell, they'll probably... Okay, they didn't counter that. Interesting. I think we play out... We already have a lot of lands here and fetches. I don't think we need to play out a land. I think we just want to hold it for Brainstorms at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. We're a long way off of casting... I guess we can cast Splinter Twin and hard cast Force of Will if we need to when the time arises. So in response to Cephalid Illusionist being cast, I will crack this. I don't need to crack it before then, unless I want to use my mana for other things. Okay. So we'll pay 2. So they can't just mill out their whole deck now. So we have a Nomads and Core. So we will cast a Lightning Bolt targeting this. If they have a counter spell, they'll probably use it on this. Okay, they didn't have the counter spell. So they can have their 1 mana 1/1. So they have a lot of cards in the deck which don't do much. They've drawn a lot of cards, but a lot of them are 1 mana 1/1s. Etvar doesn't bother me. I don't think I can block this turn. I think next turn we might have to block, or we can start Splinter Twinning and just gaining value that way, which isn't really where I want to be. I'd rather try and win the game with a combo, but I might just have to keep myself alive by constantly buying back spells. Ponder is a good one. What have you got for me? Force of Will, Expressive Iteration. I like all of these cards. So we'll put the Force of Will in the middle. Do not shuffle the library. And then we'll cast an Expressive Iteration. And we can put another Expressive Iteration in hand, because I don't think the Force of Will is necessarily where we want to be. Oh my, okay, so we will put a Force of Will in hand. We'll put this on the bottom, and then we'll exile this Expressive Iteration. And then we will crack this for a basic mountain. We will cast this and see if we can get a little deeper into the deck. Okay, so we have the win in hand here. Potentially, we kind of need to have... So if we put the Deceiver Exarch in the exile and play it, we can put Snapcaster Mage into hand, which gives us the Force of Will activation there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can just hard cast Force of Will and Splinter Twin next turn. So I think I'll put Deceiver Exarch in hand, this on the bottom, and exile this. And we'll play this land, and we will say go, with the intention of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so with the intention of blocking with the Snapcaster Mage. And yeah, so we'll block with the Snapcaster Mage to save some damage, and then we'll end the turn Deceiver Exarch. I imagine they'll probably try and save the counter for the Splinter Twin. That would be the correct play usually, since there's less of them in the deck. So if every one you hit is a big deal. Okay, yeah. So this is the turn we have to chump block. If something goes horribly wrong, I can always flash my guy in, but so they gain low life. I got a lot of clicks to make enough guys, so hopefully they'll scoop if it works. Okay, they're paying costs. Cephalid Illusionist. So they're going to mill their deck, and then they cast Dread Return for what's it called? Thassa's Oracle. So if I try and counterspell this, they're going to see my Deceiver Exarch. It's a case of, do I think the 5 cards in their hand are good enough? Let's see. If there were a counterspell for this, then I gave up information, but if I can counter this, then there's an option of drawing another tapper and surviving a turn and then comboing the next turn. So I have a route to winning this game, even though they've drawn so many cards from the Monarch. Just been absolutely demolished by the Monarch here. I think I win this game if I... well, obviously if I take the Monarch I win the game, but if I... okay, so that's... so I'm not dead. I've got another turn. A Spell Pierce, so I am dead. So I gave away the information for no reason. But it could have been enough that I could win the game by tapping a guy down. Okay, so we begin to sideboard here. So the Pyroblasts seem great here. The Spellskite can block Swords to Plowshares, which is going to be their removal spell they're going to be relying on. I don't think the back to basics is any good in this matchup because now they know it's there, they're not going to play into it. The meltdown feels pretty reasonable. The surgical extraction stops their actual combo if they're going off as well. So I have potentially quite a lot of options, but I like a lot of these spells. I don't like trading. I know they're a combo deck though, but I don't like trading 1-for-1 in matchups like this. Trading 2-for-1 in matchups like this. I'd rather just keep my integral pieces together. So they might board in Graveyard Hate for Snapcaster Mage. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Spell Pierce is fine. I think we can trim. We'll trim one Snapcaster and Ponder. Doesn't feel ideal, but I think we just trim some of our things. We just basically want to sort of pull ahead as best we can here. These disrupt their combo, so I need to keep these in. They also deal with their backup plan of Stoneforge Mystic. Do we need all of these surgical extractions to deal with their combo is the question. I don't think we need to deal with, I don't think we need all of them. So I think we're going to play it like this and rely on these things to kill the Cephalid Illusionist. I think that's safer. This is our opening hand. I don't particularly like it because I don't have mana, so we're going to mulligan it. This hand is better. It has a little bit of disruption and it has some removal spells as well. So we're going to put back one of the surgical extractions. And then we're going to play this one out. This can get either of the mana sources I require for turn 1. Ideally, I'd like to turn 1 Lightning Bolt, but if I have to turn 1 Spell Pierce, that's fine. Okay, so now we have this. We're going to ping across to their turn. Stalling turn. So they're going to be fetching around. Okay, so this time we will get an island. It does make things slightly difficult in terms of the things we get here. I think we're going to get a volcanic island actually and Spell Pierce this. So this is a deck that does shenanigans with Ether Vial, so it's very important to stop it because it lets them keep playing Yorions with Caracas and so on and so forth. So now I think we play these islands and then we pass the turn. So our hand is very reactive here. We don't have any of the pieces we need to win the game. We're just kind of hoping for these to line up well with what our opponent's doing. Sure, another Ether Vial. It's not worth surgically extracting the first Ether Vial there. So we have this. So we have Spell Pierce, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat available this turn. How do I feel about the Ponder? I don't think it's worth snapping off the Spell Pierce for the Ponder here. The Spell Pierce can be used to protect me on a combo turn or to deal with very specific problems that can arise. I guess we're just not doing anything this turn. I'm drawing into Engineered Explosives, which we can play for 1 and crack the Ether Vial. Or we can hold up the Spell Pierce. I think we'll hold up the Spell Pierce and try and nab more than one thing with the explosives, because this is currently only going up to 2, so it's not particularly scary. When it goes up to 3, it's a little scarier. So hopefully we can Spell Pierce something this turn, untap Engineered Explosives. In an ideal world, they'll make 3 1-drops, but seems very unlikely. So they fetched around the back to basics. And put Yorion into their hand. Okay, it's not particularly exciting. They're not really going to give me any targets for this Spell Pierce, are they? So we're just going to play out the mountain. And we're going to use this mana source. Yes, that's the correct mana source for this. We're going to use this to play an Engine Explosives for 1. So this can deal with the Ether Vial. And we can still hold up the Spell Pierce. And we can crack the Ether Vial end of turn if we don't need to use the Spell Pierce. Stoneforge Mystic. So let's see what they find first. Right, we're killing this regardless, but they found Cauldron Complete. So we're going to cast Unholy Heat, targeting this. If they Force of Will over this, that'd be great for me. Sure. This is what I mean about trading 1-for-1s. Look at this. Sure. So they've binned off a Narcomoeba. Sure. Okay, that's not really a card that does a lot in their hand anyway. So now we have the ability to Snapcast a Mage and pop all these things. With these. So ideally, if we draw another mana, we get to blow up the explosives and hold up Snapcast a +1 mana interaction. So they're probably putting the Cauldron Complete back into their library to shuffle away because it's a long way off before becoming relevant. And if they have to hardcast it, maybe I can nab it with a Spell Pierce. Okay, just a Ponder. Ponder's fine. Okay, so I didn't draw the land I was hoping for. This is interesting choices here. The Spell Pierce is definitely losing its usefulness. I think we crack this now. And get rid of the Ether Vial. Okay. I could do with some sort of cantrip effects. Nomad's and Core. Sure. That doesn't do anything. Cephalid Illusionist. So they have got 3 cards in hand. This is an interesting one. So they can keep doing this in response and milling their whole library. So what I could do here is I could kill this in response, or I could try and get really cheeky and try and surgically extract their graveyard. They have 3 cards in hand, so I think the best way is to play it safe and cast this targeting this. If they have additional nomads, okay. So now we're just going to hope that this is enough. They're going to mill the whole deck before Cabal Therapying me. So we have the ability to Snapcast the Mage, Spell Pierce. Now they're tapped out as well, so I think this is good. So this will probably get them to mill their whole deck. And they don't get to Cabal Therapy me, but they might have a counter spell. So it's Force of Will, I get to use Spell Pierce that. So I think at this point we let them mill their whole library. Nope, they're just letting it go. Very interesting. I didn't want to try and mill most of their library to win the game. Very interesting. Well, I've drawn lots of interactions. I haven't drawn any in my combo, but I'm certainly still in this game. I could surgically extract the Cephalid Illusionist, which is something I was thinking about, but I think I like this play better. As soon as they start activating it, I can force them to do it at instant speed. I don't have the... yeah, I can force them to do it at instant speed if I want to. So we're going to cast this using this and this. And we're going to Unholy Heat away the Self-Led Illusionist. Let's see if this gets them to... Nope, okay. Interesting. Snapcaster Mage Splinter Twin is a hell of a drug. What have we seen here? We've seen no Force of Wills. We have seen the Hydroblasts. So we could surgically extract the Cephalid Illusionist and make sure they can't combo. Or we could try and let them try and combo out and see if we can... I think what we can do here is we cast this on the Cephalid Illusionist. And then if we need to, we can Splinter Twin on Snapcaster Mage and recast the Surgical Extraction on something else in their hand. They have a Swords to Plowshares, so I definitely don't want to cast that yet. Okay, so what have we got here? Nothing exciting, really. Shike, Skyclad Apparition. Okay, so they're just playing a fair game with Yorions now. So I don't want to do this because they have the Swords to Plowshares. So we have to get rid of the Swords to Plowshares. This guy is just a rubbish 1-1 now, so we don't want to... Getting him off the board by trading with a Snapcaster isn't worth it. I really need some sort of card advantage spell. Like obviously Snapcaster Mage is a card advantage spell, but a card advantage spell that digs me into my library, for example, Expressive Iteration. However, I will take a Ponder every day of the week. Okay. So we can have Deceiver Exarch, which will get Swords to Plowshared. And then we can have the second Deceiver Exarch with Pyroblast backup, potentially when I go off. Or we can keep the Pyroblast now and get rid of the Yorion that we know is coming. I would not like to shuffle my library. Sure. I'm taking the conservative route here, but they don't have anything that I'm particularly scared of other than the Swords to Plowshares. And the Yorion beats very quickly, and I would rather they beat very slowly. Or not at all. They should be attacking with their Nomads. Okay, so this has to counter the Yorion rather than destroying it. I'm fascinated that they're not trying to play out the Yorion while I'm sort of low on cards. Because they can play Yorion and hold up white mana, so I'm not sure why they're not doing that, because they can still interact with their Swords to Plowshares. Oh, I've got hardly any time left on my clock as well. Fast. Mystical Dispute. So if I counter this, it means that they have to use their Force of Will on it, their Swords to Plowshares on it. So I think I like this. I don't have a lot of time on my clock, so... okay, so we can't actually cast the... we can't actually cast the Splinter Twin because we know they have a Swords to Plowshares in hand. Which is frustrating a little bit. Okay, so they've cast it now, so that's fine. So we've got two cards in hand, one of them is Yorion. So I think we untap, we flash in the Deceiver Exarch. Cabal Therapy. They're targeting me with a Cabal Therapy. What would they name here? They probably would name Splinter Twin, wouldn't they? I think we just let them have a look. Sure. much doing with that, unfortunately. I think I'm just going to lose the clock this game. Sure, so we have this Yorion. They can bounce. Okay, expressive iteration. Another T-Rex like isn't very helpful. It's not helpful, I suppose. So we'll put the Deceiver Exarch in our hand. That's in the library. There's an exile, and then we'll cast this. We'll get a little deeper. So I'll put this in hand. This in exile. Sorry, then the land in exile because you can't cast it. Yeah. Okay, we did the right way around. So now we attack with our guys. So we've managed to assemble the combo again. I have 2 cards in hand. They've got Cabal Therapy in there. Okay, so nomadsing. Okay, we don't have the time to dick around with this, to be honest, so... what have you got? Otawara. Sure. So it's going to fizzle. I don't unfortunately have the time to play around things like this. I think I'm just going to die to the clock here. Which is one of the reasons why I've been a little bit reluctant to play this deck. Just because the operations on it are quite time intensive in digital when they're not really in paper. I guess you're shuffling a bit in paper, but... okay. Let's play this out. Might as well start getting the attacks in now. I assume they're going to block, yeah. They're going to block at some point. And it's always going to be on this guy. The next time 1 damage will be dealt to nomads and core. Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around. I thought it took damage from other stuff. I see. Well, that was a horrible misplay. Okay. Well, that Snapcast was never getting through, I suppose. Blue, red. Let's play this. Tap down that guy. No beatdown plan, I think. Cast this, should have used a different colour mana for that, I think. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tap this guy down in combat again. Short Crew the Guard. Was this Palace Jailer again? Well, Palace Jailer can be redirected to Spellskite. Skyclave Apparition, sure, that can be redirected to Spellskite 2. I don't think my life total matters enough here, so I'm going to change this ability to Spellskite. I'll pay life. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to get clocked out of this one. Blue, blue, red. Pay this guy. Tap down your Yorion. Tap target opponent with controls. Okay. So they're going to recast their Yorion. Just going to get rid of my Pestamite. Sure. A 2/2. That's exciting. I don't think it's worth tapping down here. I can just buy an extra turn. I still have to play correctly, even though I'm almost certainly going to lose to the clock. But I think I can win this game still. I've only got 2 cards in hand. I just need to draw a Splinter Twin. That's certainly the best way of trying to find one. Okay. I should play this. Tap, tap, play this. Pass a turn. Cut this first. We're going to get another mountain. Blue, blue, red, cast this. Tap opponent controls. Tap the Yorion so it can't attack us. We'll untap, we'll draw Splinter Twin. That way we go through the motions and I'll die while making infinite guys. That's probably what's going to happen. Okay, this doesn't do anything. Let's pass a turn. Sure, I don't care about that. I've still got 1 tapper guy, that's all I need. So I assume this Solitude is going to come in this turn. Nope, just this guy, sure. Gonna need 2 removal spells. Or a Force of Will. You Force of Willing me? Sure. Can't do anything about that. We're now on the survive this turn, Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt? I don't know. We need 2 Lightning Bolts. Sure, we can't block this anyway. 15 seconds. I'm going to recast it, put a little stuff on the stack. Sure, we'll just F6 this turn. Probably need to be doing that on more turns, looking at how I play my clock at the moment. Slot wins a match because I run out of time. Sure. Yeah, I'm not particularly happy about how quickly I play, which is a real issue here. I guess it's one of these things that's going to get better as I go on. I hope you at least enjoyed some of the play patterns that were going on, and we're going to have one more round that hopefully we can finish in time. Okay, this is my opening hand. I can Island Ponder Keep. That sounds good to me. Let's try and play at a quicker pace and slowly get better at this. Okay, so we want to keep some of these cards. I think we put this on top. Then the Exarch, then the Brainstorm, so we hide it a little bit. Sure. I have a turn 3 kill with no protection. An Ancient Tomb. Chalice? The amount of time I've taken to do it makes me think it's Chalice. Okay, that's fine. They won't interact with my combo, so we're just going to Stone Cold turn for them. So we need to play out a land, I think. Sure. Tiger. Okay, that's unexpected. Dryad of the Lycian Groves. Sure, it's a guy. This isn't just a straight prison deck then. Playing additional mana is interesting to me. Okay, this. We can still find a Force of Will just in case we need one. So this one needs to find us an island as well. The next one finds us a mountain. And we have mountain. The green means that we can get hit by a choke post board as well. So we have a Snapcaster Mage. I think we'll play this mountain. So this turn we're just going to wait to the end of turn, tap them out of resources, untap, kill them. Because this deck wants to cast a 3 mana into a 4 mana spell, it's actually pretty solid against Trinisphere type decks and prison decks. Obviously, you know, they can hit with your cantrips and stuff, which can be an issue. But at least they're not vaporizing you with stopping your actual win conditions and your mana development because you're all basics. Yavimaya and Caracas. Sure. We're going to play this and we're going to tap down the white source because that's the thing that's most likely to give them some sort of removal, I think. And it's the only colour that's unique. Tap target opponent controls. Obviously my creature's not legendary, so it's not an issue. Obviously they can't play their own Swords to Plowshares now. They could have some other effect. And white's more removal colours than green, and red would need a big removal spell to hit this. Crack this, sacrifice this. Waiting because they've got an effect. We get a mountain. Not that one, this one. Red. Red, blue, blue. Their deck gives me the impression that they're not going to have any interaction for this, which is why I'm just going for it now. Their interaction is prison pieces. Okay, create a token. Untap target opponent you control and save target. This one. Okay, so there's the wind. I've just finished up recording something, so I'm going to be a little bit quiet while I do it. Sorry about that. I'm on a limited clock anyway, so. How long are we going to do? I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes. So I'll just put the kettle on. Yeah, I just need a bit quiet on that. Alright, so this is my sideboarding choice. We didn't see a great deal from them apart from some prison pieces, so Meltdown is going to be something that we're in the market for here. Other than that, it's hard to say what else they were doing. There is an option that Spellskite could be useful. I don't think Misdirection is where we want to be because they're not a counterspell deck, so that usually comes out. The Lightning Bolts didn't seem particularly good based on the limited amount of threats we saw, and obviously we don't really want all these one mana spells if we can help it. Back to Basics seemed alright against them, so we'll be bringing that in as well, and that gives us 3 more cards to bring in, so we can bring in a Spellskite just as a hedge against things. Obviously it's a little bit of a number with Meltdown, but mainly the Meltdown's going to be hitting 0 drops. So I think this is fine. This is just a hedge against removal because these are just going to be removal rather than counter spells, so pretty much some of your counter stuff comes out. Everything else, I quite like it. Because of the expressive iterations, we can really lean into gaining card advantage that way, and we don't need. So even if our cantrips are blanked by a Chalice, we can still go through it. And obviously we got main deck Chalice Hate as well. So this opening hand has half of my combo. It has a lot of Force of Wills, and it has a back to basics to try and stymie whatever their mana base is doing. It's a bit slow, but it's completely fine against Chalice, which is nice. So I'm going to keep this. I'm still not 100% sure what my opponent's deck is doing. So we're just going to be playing out basics with all my lands. So we may as well play the basic item we have in hand first. So choke is one of the things I'm worried about, but we have the Force of Will if they do have a choke. We can pitch a Pestamite since they know what we're doing anyway. Pestamite is the weaker one because they're red. They might have damage-based removal like Bone Crusher Giant, which goes through Chalice, which is quite common in Prisony decks. Again, I'm not sure how Prisoner they are. I don't expect them to be Blood Moon based on the amount of non-basics they had in the first game. So yeah, there's some sort of... It could be an interesting version of the 8 mulch style decks. But at the moment I'm somewhat in the dark as to what my opponent is doing. Chalice of the Void. Do I care about Chalice of the Void right now? No, I do not. I think I would rather save these for something that actually stops me winning the game, or something that makes them win the game. I need to try and play quickly as well. Okay, Snapcaster Mage is probably going to be a bit like an ambush fight for this game. So this will get us a mountain, which we want. We want to get our basic mountain for the purposes of expressive iteration. Mox Diamond, that's fine. So this is probably some sort of Life from the Loam deck, which kind of figures with all the other decks. Yep, they're a Wasteland deck, which doesn't really impact me. Sylvan Library. Now this is a card that can definitely do a lot of work for them. So I think we're going to Force of Will this one. And we're going to pitch the Snapcaster Mage because we're not going to have any 1-drops to cast with it. So I think the power of... interesting. So what do we got here? Was that the bait spell? Is this another Chalice for 1? Sure, you can have 2 Chalices for 1. They both get hit by Meltdown if that comes along. And I didn't count the first one, so I'm not sure why I would count the second one. I don't like that play from my opponent. Like if someone's in red, the chances are what they're going to be looking at playing is going to be... so this gets a blue source. This gets a red source. Yeah, so if somebody's in red, they're probably going to have Meltdowns in their deck. So playing multiple out doesn't feel like a great play. Now we also get to cast our Back to Basics. Another important thing you can do with Back to Basics is you can play your Pestamite off of a volcanic island, untap your own volcanic island, so you can basically ignore the downside of it and still attack and still combo off the next turn. So I managed to strip out 2 of my opponent's lands there. They've wasted two 2 casters. Yes, it's stopping my ponder, but okay, they just conceded. So in this league, we went 2-3, but one of our losses was a timeout round that I was probably losing, but I still had some game in it, so I might have been able to pull that one out. And the other one was a game where I punted a line, basically. There's no other way. I just made a mistake of not... I even talked about doing the play as I wasn't doing the play. So if I'd have done that, I probably could have got a 3-2 record. This is a deck that I'm going to be playing probably once a week, roughly like once every 5 games or so. I'm probably going to jam a Twin League because this is sort of my baby that I've been playing for a long time. I haven't played it I've only played it once probably in the last year due to not having a lot of paper events to go to, because the events I used to do weekly legacy-wise stopped with the pandemic, so I haven't really been able to get all that testing and tuning in. So how do we feel about this? The removal spells, sweet, felt pretty good. I quite like having the engine and explosives, a nice little catch-all. The Snapcaster Mages, there's definitely a possibility of trimming a single Snapcaster Mage for another effect. So possibly some sort of other counter spell or something like that. Because sometimes I was drawing Snapcaster Mages and they weren't really doing very much. But again, they are blue cards to pitch, so they're never really dead. The Back to Basics was fine. I think having one in the main deck is suitable. The Misdirection didn't come up at all, really, apart from when I drew it when it couldn't do anything. So this is definitely a card that could potentially be something else, but I don't really like playing Pact of Negation in this deck. Yes, you can play Pact on the turn you're trying to win, but essentially if you lose and you don't get to refuel and carry on again, and so sometimes it won't be the first time you attempt the combo that works. It's a few times in. People have also suggested Daze. Daze is good on your combo turn, but bad on basically all the other turns. And on your combo turn, because you're casting 4 mana spell, they're probably going to have additional mana spare at that point anyway. So I don't think Daze is where this deck really wants to be. I was very happy with the mana base. That was fine. As for the sideboard, I didn't really get to cast Meltdowns. That's fine. Didn't get to cast the Maddening Hex. The Back to Basics was good. In that last game, it really stunted what my opponent was doing. I think the Spell Skites were really good. Didn't have any problems with those. Pyroclasm didn't come up. The Surgical Extractions, if I'd have played better, would have won me a game. So would have won me a match even. So that was really nice. Pyroblasts, yeah, they're fine. I didn't really see the big matchups where I want the Pyroblast. Yes, there was a show and tell matchup, but they're sort of things like Delver where they can hit things that are attacking your spells and things that are attacking your face. So you can kind of do double duty with Pyroblast. I don't think Pyroblast is leaving any red deck sideboard anytime soon. So this is the deck today. I had quite a fun time playing it. I was very slow with the operations, but again, if I'm playing this once a week, I'm going to get better with the reps, and I'm going to be able to actually not worry about the clock and just worry about playing the game a bit better. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to be doing legacy videos pretty much 5 days a week if I can. I'm working on trying to do about 5 days a week. So hopefully you've been enjoying this, and thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.